I mean, if you're San Francisco, Trey Lance and Ayuk, because the
happiness.
What in the world?
But you can invest in them. At T. Rowe Price, our strategic investment.
What the hell is going on out there?
Are you in stock trading during the show?
I don't know. I hit a button. It's like that date I was on one time. I brought her back to the house and she goes, "What's that humming?" I said, "I don't know. I hit a button." Why are you complaining?
I'm gambling
On this
again.
episode of Bustin' Chops and Calling Shots, Chop is at the game in Kansas City, so producer AJ steps in. John and I talk about the coaching carousel, the GM carousel, and everything that's going on in the NFL with all the new head coaches and the defensive coordinators and offensive coordinator hires. We also talk about the two most important things, which are the games that went on Sunday, the 49ers and the Eagles. That game was not as exciting as we thought. And then we also talk about, of course, the Bengals and the Chiefs. That one was everything we thought it was going to be. So we break all of that down and we dive into a little bit of
You want to bet? I don't bet. What do you mean you don't bet? I mean, I don't bet.
You're listening to Bustin' Chops and Calling Shots.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode. Bustin' Chops and Calling Shots. Sans Chops. Chop is at the game. Well, he was at the game. I think it's over now. He's probably headed back home. But he was at the game in Kansas City watching the Chiefs beat the Bengals, and we wish him all the best. And we are so thankful that he got to enjoy that. But at the same time, a little angsty that he's drinking Busch Lights without us in that cold weather. Actually, I probably wouldn't want to be there in person. I'd much rather watch it on the couch. So, Chop, we thank you so much for letting me hop in and be a part of this. But as always, with me, of course, is Chop's brother, John Cole. John, thanks for being the Brett Favre of this thing and just the Cal Ripken just showing up every time.
Somebody's got to work around the show, for God's sake. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Actually, we're going to have to cut this show short tonight.
Okay.
I have to call the local bail bondsman. Chop has actually been arrested at the stadium. They caught him sneaking into the locker room, going through the laundry, trying to get Pat Mahomes' jockstrap. They caught him red-handed. Not him holding it. He was actually wearing it over top of his clothes, trying to get out of there with it. So we're going to have to bail Chop out.
Did he actually, because he told us he was holding the flag before the game on the sideline, was he actually did he still part of the flag too? And he has the flag and he's got the jock strap, and it's kind of funny. You start the game out holding the flag and being all patriotic, and then you wind up in the jail, right? That's kind of weird.
Well, look, there's no doubt he tried to weasel his way. Like every time they showed Pat Mahomes on the sideline, I just expected to see Chop with like drool frozen into his beard, like right behind him, like a dog that just saw his master, like. But they must have made him go back to his seat. So
yeah, well, when you're drinking Busch Lights like that, and he sent us a picture a couple weeks ago of him drinking Busch Light, and look, hey, beer is beer and whiskey is whiskey, and I'm not going to judge you. You drink it how you want to drink it. But honestly, I was like, Busch Light, and he's like, yeah, is there any other beer to drink at a stadium? And look, I know beers are expensive at stadiums, but honestly, like, you really got to stoop that low to Busch Light? I mean, there's so many other options out there.
You don't know how cheap Chop truly is. I think I do. No, you don't. You have no clue. Like, that guy squirrels away money better than anybody. It must be because he works at, has that banking background. But look, he doesn't even buy beer inside the stadium. He's like the mom, like when mom, God rest her soul, but when our mom was living, we never got to buy snacks at the movie theater. It was always like hiding stuff in her purse, hiding boxes of candy in her girdle. She would make us put stuff in our pants, like bags of popcorn. So Chop, he loads himself down with about 6 Busch Light cans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they don't have metal detectors out there in Kansas City. They're not sophisticated enough for that kind of stuff. So he just sneaks on in there. But yeah, I told him, you keep stalking Mahomes, you're going to get caught. And sure enough, got caught wearing the jock strap. So I'm sure that'll be on the front page of the Kansas City Star tomorrow morning.
I'm sure
embarrass the whole family.
Yeah, as if there wasn't enough embarrassing things going on with your family. But I digress. Hey, look, real quick. I want to just, before we get this show started, I think this is a new practice I want to tell Chop to do. So I'm going to make sure you guys know how to follow us and tell you all of the things that we're doing out there, because there's so much new, and maybe listeners don't know everything that's going on. So if you guys are listening on podcast, thank you so much for subscribing anywhere you listen to your podcast. And if you are, check us out on YouTube. So at Bustin' Chops, Colin Shots, no and no G. So Colin, Bustin' Chops, Colin Shots is our handle on YouTube. It's also our handle on IG and Facebook. Bustin' Chops, Colin Shots, no G's and no and. And then you can check John out on Twitter, who's, firing up tweet storms every single day over at bccsports.com, or excuse me, at BCCS Sports. That was the next thing I was going to get to, is the website. The most important thing is, if you guys like what you're hearing, you can go to our website. You can sign up for a free package. It is bccsports.com. Sign up for a free package. Check out what we're doing. If you like what we're doing, even better, sign up for a paid package, because you're going to get way more value out of that. So just to start the show off right, want to make sure you guys know how to find us on all those handles. And of course, just go to bccsports.com and you'll see them all right there. So without further ado, John, I want to know, how did the weekend go? Tell me kind of where we're at with everything. I know we had a rough week to start, but I think we kind of came back around a little bit. So how's everything going?
It's fantastic with tonight with the Chiefs money line, which as soon as the Eagles won, the Eagles closed with 75% of bets on the Eagles, 79% of the handle. Bengals, 74% of the bets, 76% of the handle. So we had Chiefs, Eagles 7-point teaser, Chiefs Bengals 7-point teaser, and Chiefs money line, all double units. That put us 3 games up, because I had some other things. San Francisco, I had them at teaser plus 10.5. Obviously, I didn't know Purdy was going to be a puss and let a little bruise on his elbow keep him out. But as bad as the week it was, there were people on suicide watch, jumping off the cliff, yada, yada, yada. And we're 5 games over this week, and we're 253 games over 500. And I just tweeted out, they need to let me put more people tagged to this, because I just want to tag every one of these pros. Because all week long, ESPN, Fox Sports, VSiN, Barstool, the Cooking Channel, Lifetime Network, all I hear is, Bengals, 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 Bengals. And I said nothing. What I say Wednesday night when we record, I said, I already know which way I'm going. I just want to see which way the dust settles. And sure enough, even today, Joe Burrow, and I love Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? And when you go back and you watch all 3 of the games in their entirety, their last 3 games, like I do in their entirety, like I did this week, you understand. And we were just talking about this before we got on the air. Everybody's going to look at Philadelphia 31-7 and say, man, they blew the 49ers out. Well, yes, on the scoreboard they did. But if you go back and the challenge that should have been made to take a touchdown off, and let's say they get another touch, look, that thing's 7-7 at half. The defense of the 49ers that played outstanding imploded, and they failed to make a challenge. So whether it's a win by a field goal like the Chiefs did, or it's a 24-point win like the Eagles did with the 49ers, I don't know. They're probably on their 7th string quarterback on the flight home by now. It's only a handful of plays, guys, that decide all this. Right? And I think we get to, look at the Chiefs game. They're down the receivers and all that. But look, Burrow got beat around like a rag doll. And we're like, Burrow, Burrow, Burrow. And again, I love Joe Burrow. I still think he's as good as Mahomes. Now, Chop's going to argue that. But here's the thing. The Bengals' offensive line wasn't exposed because Buffalo's D sucks, and Buffalo's been overrated all year long. Again, did you not watch the week before when Miami with Skylar Thompson gave them fits? All right? So Buffalo's defense is a fraud. Buffalo was a fraud. Same thing with the Bengals. Everybody talks about that amazing win. Well, was it really that good of a win over Buffalo? And let's think about the week before. If Huntley doesn't try to play Superman, the Ravens win that ball game. Right? If Trevor Lawrence doesn't throw the pick early in the pick lay, and I know if ifs were a fifth, we'd all be drunk. I know, I coined the phrase. But look, the Jaguars could have easily beat the Chiefs. I mean, who thinks Chad Henne goes down the field? Like, so again, it's only a couple plays. And I know Jake was asking about this. He's like, man, don't you think sometimes it's rigged? And I had another guy, Wyatt, one of our guys. He's like, man, the refs wanted the Chiefs to win. How can you say that? Right? Like, a foul's a foul, a penalty's a penalty.
Right.
But like, there's only a handful of things. And I think what people that bet don't take into account is Vegas sets the line there for a reason. They've been doing it a long time. They don't care what happened last week. Why? Because they know you're going to remember last week. They're looking over the body of work, right? So again, you know, it's just like this thing with the Eagles. And I know everybody's going to say, look, they blew out the Giants. They've had the easiest schedule in the NFL, folks. I mean, are we really impressed by the Giants? I mean, are we really impressed today by the fact that, you know, Brock Purdy that showed up that he's 12 years old, and now I think there's no argument they need Tom Brady. They need a man at quarterback, because I see quarterbacks get hit like that all the time in the arm and keep playing. Okay? And so they go to Josh Johnson, who's played for 13 teams. I don't even know how he keeps getting jobs at this point. I mean,
didn't know who he was, honestly.
I mean, he's like the molester that keeps getting hired at school custodian jobs. I mean, Jesus, somebody check the background, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? So are we really that impressed by the Eagles? I mean, and now they open up in the Super Bowl 1.5 point favorites. I mean, they've never been there. I get it. Their team is stacked. Their roster's stacked. And I'm not saying I like the Chiefs. I don't even want to think about it for the next 3 days. You know, you got 2 weeks, but I just be careful about your first gut reaction. You know, it's kind of like my dad told me when he said, you got to watch what you say. And like, the first thing you think shouldn't be the first thing you say all the time.
Right.
Right. And I think that really needs to apply to gambling, because, I mean, look, everybody, I heard again, Bengals, Eagles. And yes, the Eagles won, but that game should have been a whole lot different. And everybody said over. Neither one of these games were ever close to the over.
Right.
Right. So the Chiefs game covers by 2. And then the Eagles game, the under covers by 8.5. So, I mean, Vegas is going to go 3-1 today. Right. So again, they don't build casinos off of what you think. Everybody's going to go to work tomorrow morning and realize, and all everybody's going to talk about is how the Bengals got robbed. Why? Because they all had the Bengals and they got to look for excuses. Yeah. So
they got to go back to their day jobs, right?
Yeah. So 253 games over. That's why you need a guy like me that does this for a living.
That's pretty darn good. I think that deserves a round of applause.
Thank you very much. All the ladies out there.
250.
540. Oh, we're back. Sorry.
250. That's huge, and I have no
253,
reason.
Don't cheat me.
Well, 250 plus. I have no reason to believe that we won't continue that trend based off of what you've been doing. Now, I'm not giving you too much credit yet. We'll see how things go, but I believe in what you're doing, and 250 plus, I think, is the goal for the end of the season, which ends on March 31st.
March 31st.
Right.
March 31st.
So, and yeah, we'll get into all of those fun things about both of those games a little bit later. But first, I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit of what's been going on with the coaching carousel in the NFL. Coaching, GM. I mean, we can talk about all of it, but there's been some big stuff that's happened in the last couple of days for sure. I think most notably, Vic Fangio has been hired as the Dolphins defensive coordinator.
Power move by the Dolphins.
Big power move. And, we got Jake here to kind of weigh in on some of the Dolphins stuff. But I think, that is a piece that they really needed. They have a lot of the offensive pieces in place, obviously. And with the coaching staff they have on the offensive side, I think they have everything, all the tools that they possibly could need. But on the defensive side, I think that's where they were really lacking. Also, the Tua situation that is still unknown, and I know you have a lot of opinions about. But I think this is a big hire.
I think it's a fantastic hire, and kudos to the Miami Dolphins front office. To me, the Vic Fangio hire is going to be bigger than any head coaching hire this year.
Okay, wow.
I mean, I think it's a power move because what you really do is here, Vic Fangio has been around a long time. And I've always said this, if I got a head coaching job, first thing I'm going after is a great defensive coordinator. So I want a Vic Fangio, a Brian Flores, somebody like that, Dick LeBeau back in the day. I'm going after a guy like that.
Yeah.
And so now, where I don't think McDaniel's a great head coach, I just don't.
We know all of the issues I have with McDaniel.
But with that being said, I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. So what this hire does is he doesn't even have to go down to the hall and even sit in a defensive meeting. Because if he runs this right, and I'm sure the Miami organization is going to say this without telling all of us that, but they're bright people and they're way smarter than me. So if I figured it out, I'm sure they said it. Is McDaniel, you worry about the offense. Fangio, you worry about the defense, and both of you just do what you do best. And they're probably going to make another hire that we won't hear about, which is a guy that's really like a general manager under the general manager, but that's amongst the coaches, that is kind of there to help McDaniel. Kind of like what Denver tried to do with, what's his name? What's the guy that won? Hackett. There you go. Look, he was so irrelevant. I couldn't even remember his damn name.
The head coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love the support they're giving McDaniel because now McDaniel will be successful with this setup. Now, here's where Jacob differs with me. And it's just his heart talking. It's not his brain, right? But look, you can't count on Tua, and I like Tua a lot, folks. But let's be honest. I mean, every time I see him, if he's not throwing a bomb to Hill, he's, my brain, I've been hit again. I mean, he's like a magic 8-ball shook up, for Christ's sake. He's never going to play over 10 games in an NFL season. And it's not his fault. I love the kid. And when he's on the field, he's dynamic. But if you're going to roll and say, we're rolling with Tua, what you've basically just told that organization is, we are Super Bowl material right now with the right quarterback, but we're going to settle for being third in division. Because even though I'm not a believer in the Bills are still better than the Dolphins, and the Jets are going to get a quarterback. They just are, right? And I don't know if I buy into this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, but, I mean, even if the Jets got a Derek Carr, that still puts him above Miami, and the reason is Tua can't play over 10 games. If he plays 12, it's a miracle. Guys, that's still another 5 plus the playoffs. So, I mean, they got to address that, and why they're being so hard-headed about the Tom Brady thing is beyond me. It really is. Because if y'all are telling me right now, with Fangio and McDaniel, and you take that pressure off McDaniel of having to be a head coach, now he can just be an offensive head coach,
mm-hmm.
And those weapons, I mean, Miami probably, other than San Francisco and Philly, have a better roster than anybody else in the league on the offensive side of the ball for sure. So all they need is somebody that can play 17 games and not screw it up.
Right. Hey, what a good division too. I mean, that they're building there in the AFC East, right? Like, that's going to be a division, I think, that we are going to see.
It's going to be tough.
It was the best division this year.
Yeah. I mean, if the Jets can figure out what they're doing a little bit, gosh, I mean, that's going to be real tough. I mean, Jake, I don't know. What do you think, man? You're here with us, and we have producer Jake in the house. He's the producer tonight. I want to get his thoughts.
Here
and I
comes
made him
to his dad to the podium, folks.
Hey, look, I'm right there with you. I mean, as long as Tua's got to stay healthy, and I mean, I've been watching him for 3 years. He can though.
When? He didn't play a full season at Alabama. He hasn't played a full season with Miami yet.
His first 2 years, he was healthy. And he had a bad coach in Brian Flores, who didn't want him there. And, I mean, this last year, it's very, I mean, it's unfortunate, and it's kind of like It's just weird what happened to him in this whole situation. I mean, if they can beef up that offensive line, I mean, I'm happy with the Fangio hire, but honestly, they need to get some more offensive linemen in there to protect him. And
you think Flores was a bad coach?
You saying that he's only going to last 10 games?
10 games max.
Oh, I'll bet 2 bottles of whiskey on that.
All right, let's do it right now. Let's put it on the board, AJ. On the board right now.
2 bottles of whiskey.
On the board. Wait, are we talking about next year? Or are we talking about on average throughout the whole
year?
Oh, he'll be out of the league in 5 years. We don't have to worry about on average.
Because John, I can see your point. On average, if his average is 10 games per season, I could see that, right? But if we're talking about next year, that's you could go either way. So what is the bet here? Are we talking about next season?
Is it the size thing? Because I mean, he's just as big as Russell Wilson.
It's not his fault. It's his brain. I mean, we've seen him carted off on a stretcher twice. What do you want? What are you waiting for?
All right, it was one time.
A pine box the third time, for God's sakes.
All right, so the bet is Tua will last more than 10 games. And if that doesn't happen, then Jake owes 2 bottles of whiskey. Are we doing screwball again? Are we doing Woodford?
No, we'll do anything.
All right.
At least $30, $30 bottle.
I think it's interesting what you brought up, John, and and even Jake, when he talks about, was Flores a bad coach? I don't think Flores was a bad coach, but what I think is important is certain coaches and even GMs in this situation and even OCs have their guy, and maybe Tua wasn't Flores' guy. Maybe he didn't want it. We saw this. We saw this.
He wanted Herbert.
Yeah, he wanted Herbert.
Yeah, we saw this with.
Look, can you blame him?
Yeah,
no, you can't.
We saw it with Murray, right? And the guy who's on vacation in Jakarta or something. What's his name?
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury. Thank you.
Wife. With the wife.
Yeah,
with the wife.
Hot chick. God bless.
Oh man,
I
went there
all over TikTok.
Smoking like a California forest fire. Woo!
Josh is gonna hate me. But and then you saw it with Bill O'Brien, and you saw it with Watson, right? Like, was Watson really Bill O'Brien's guy? And there was this whole kind of controversy going on there. So was Flores a bad coach? No, I don't think so. Was he the right coach for Tua? Maybe not. And maybe McDaniel is. So I think that's a good point, and just a nuanced kind of point that needs to be kind of made here. So I don't know. We'll see how things play out with Fangio. I think that's going to be really important.
It's a great hire.
It's a great hire. But so we can get to some other stuff. I want to talk about this hot commodity that's on the market right now. This guy that I watched tonight when I was watching the Chiefs game, Eric Bieniemy, right? He has been a target for so many teams. I know the Titans were targeting him for the OC position, the Colts head coach position, which has still not been filled, the Ravens OC, but it looks like now the Commanders, John, are actually targeting Bieniemy as their OC. This guy, what's with this guy? Like, everyone wants this man. Like, it's so crazy.
Well, he needs to leave and go be an OC somewhere else. Nobody's going to hire him as a head coach if they haven't hired him yet. And you saw even in the game tonight, Andy Reid's the one calling the plays. And you saw it was really on the sidelines, Matt Nagy, the old Bears coach who was the OC before he left. Mm-hmm. It was Nagy, Reid, and Mahomes together. And, then, Eric Bieniemy kind of slides himself into the photo, right? There's obviously something there. Now, I'm not questioning the man's intelligence. I think Baltimore would be a great place for him with Lamar. I really think that's a great fit. I think Tennessee almost has to have a mobile quarterback with Derrick Henry so you can run some option stuff. Now, I don't think Malik Willis is that guy. But I think that would be a good go. The problem with the Commanders is I really am of the belief that this Commanders thing gets turned upside down on its head after March 1st. Because it's like 96% done. This thing is sold March 1st to Bezos.
Wow. That's huge. That's huge, by the way.
I haven't heard about that.
Huh?
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm here. I got boots on the ground here in the DMV. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, Jake's a big Big Jeff Bezos fan, by the way. So he's really curious.
Right now, he's trying to sell the Washington Post because apparently you can't own a newspaper and an NFL franchise for whatever stupid reason.
But you can own a huge conglomerate that sells most of commodities to Americans and publication. Weird, huh? It's weird how the laws are.
They change them weekly. It'll be something new next week. But I'm of the belief, I think this is a lot of and again, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think this is a big reason why Sean Payton hasn't taken a job. And I think this is a big reason you haven't saw the Commanders, Redskins, whatever, be able to land a DC or OC yet. Is I think everybody's a little worried because they know if Bezos buys the team, Rivera's gone the next day.
Yeah, could see that.
All right, and Ron Rivera should be gone. Super nice guy. I'd hire him as a D coordinator, not a head coach.
I would love if he officiated my wedding. I would just be honored, right?
Yeah, he's a great man, great guy, great guy to have in your organization, but not a head coach. He's just not, right? It's kind of like Norv Turner. Even Jeff Saturday, as much crap as we give him, he's a guy you want in your organization, but if the Colts settle on him as a head coach, it's a disaster.
And it looks like they're going to. It looks like they're going to.
If I'm any player, I'm asking out. Any player with any substance, I want out of there. Right? Because, I mean, you're not going anywhere. You're just not. So when I look at that, I think that Bieniemy, he's not going to go to Washington, but I think Baltimore's a very nice fit. I could see Tennessee being a good fit. To be honest with you, man, I mean, the Broncos really missed out on this whole Frank Reich thing because I think they're waiting on Sean Payton, and I think he's the runaway bride on them. You and Chop were calling, no, he's going to Denver. It's happening. I don't think so. If they ain't signed him yet, I don't think so.
Still not a done deal. And look,
I do think D'Amico Ryans gets hired tomorrow morning by the Houston Texans. I do think that happens.
Okay, interesting. Want to put it on the board for a Nesquik?
Let's say this week it happens. Can we do that for a Nesquik?
This week for a Nesquik. Okay, yes. I'm putting it on the board.
All right, cool.
Ding. Okay. By the way, hey, we're talking about Frank Reich. I mean, he's hired as the head coach for the Carolina Panthers. So, good job, Frank. You're going to Carolina, which I don't know. Congratulations. It's man, I don't know.
Gonna have to draft a quarterback there, I guess. But Frank Reich is a really good head coach. Frank Reich got a horrible deal in Indianapolis, but it's hard for me to be excited about the hire because I think Steve Wilkes got the shaft. So now. With Steve Wilkes on the market, I will say, Sean Payton had been in discussion with Vic Fangio about it being his DC. I think that's the first call Sean Payton makes now is to Steve Wilkes, hey, if I get a job, will you be my DC? So, which I think that's an awesome fit. Or, the other part of that could be, what if he goes to San Francisco if D'Amico Ryans does get the Houston job?
Right.
That'd be a good defensive coordinator fit. So Steve Wilkes will have options. Unfortunately, that guy, I guess he's just never going to get a shot as a head coach, which is sad. Because I don't know the guy got a raw deal in Arizona. Arizona should have already hired Brian Flores. I believe he's the only guy that can fix that franchise with Kyler Murray as the quarterback. But I'm afraid that they're going to settle for a lower tier coach because whatever reason, Arizona is scared of Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And they've paid him that money and they feel like they got to ride him. But look, ownership, it's okay to admit you're wrong in life. Ownership at some point in time has got to realize we got to find a way to get rid of Kyler somehow, some way.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I'm all for Kingsbury on this whole thing. Like, I just think that that's one of the reasons he went to not wherever he went, Indonesia. Where'd he go? He went to
Thailand.
Yeah.
Thailand for Tailland.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, this whole thing's been a mess, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. on the podcast before. It's an ugly situation with, I don't know how they win. And, Kyler is supposed to be out for a little while, actually. It looks like he might actually be out for the first half of the season, given this knee injury. And now, what position you put yourself in here? You have, this quarterback that you've put all your stock in, and you've fired your head coach over this beef that they have. And then, now you're looking for somebody to come in and fill the void, and this guy might even be out for the first half. It's just wild. I really can't understand it. I really can't. And
maybe if Green Bay moves off of Rodgers, Arizona calls up Green Bay and says, "Hey, we'll trade you Murray for Jordan Love straight up."
It could be interesting.
Because if you're Arizona, you got to get rid of him. If they keep Kyler Murray, they won't make the playoffs the rest of the time he's there.
They just put themselves in a bad situation. I don't know how they can at this point. So moving down the list here, we mentioned Frank Reich over at Carolina. Jim Schwartz, I want to talk about him real quick. He's been the defensive assistant advisor or something at Tennessee for a couple of years, and we've loved having him here. And he's done great defensive mind. But he got a job over at Cleveland, so he's going to be the new DC at Cleveland. Mike LaFleur picks up a job with the LA Rams to be their defensive coordinator as well. Monty Ossenfort, he's going to go be the GM to the Cardinals, which we were just talking about. He was actually in the running for the Titans job, which he did not get. And then we talked about Vic Fangio, and then one thing I wanted to talk to you about was Bill O'Brien. We already talked about this on the podcast last week. Bill O'Brien goes to be the OC for the Patriots. But the thing I did want to talk to you about was Nathaniel Hackett. Big news this week. Nathaniel Hackett going to be the OC for the Jets. I think it's interesting, before you make your comments, I think it's interesting that a guy who went to Denver and had like a 4-12 season, whatever their record was, and he was supposed to go in there and fix everything with Denver, and he has Russell Wilson, which I actually think Russell Wilson is still a good commodity in this league, and he can go and become an offensive coordinator in a place where they really need some life, and the only hope that they have is that he's got relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and maybe that's the reason he's going to go there. I don't know. I've just been hearing a lot of rumors around lately. I just don't know if that's the big reason you make that hire. I don't know if it's the right hire for the Jets.
I mean, how desperate are the Jets? I mean, the Jets are like the 40-year-old virgin. I mean, just desperation, right? I mean, this is a plea like no other plea, right? Nathaniel Hackett, first of all, I don't fault Nathaniel Hackett. I would have took the head coaching job too. But before you can be a head coach, you need to be an offensive coordinator, right? We're trying to elevate guys way, way too quick. And I think he should have got a shot as an offensive coordinator. But you can't convince me that the Jets solely made this decision in thinking it's going to bring them Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that either. Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, you can't tell me that Nathaniel Hackett is the guy that's going to fix Zach Wilson. And then the whole Zach Wilson thing, they've told him, hey, you're still our guy, but we're bringing in a veteran quarterback. So, and the Jets, it's no mistake what it is. The Jets, I mean, you're an offense, you're no seeing a quarterback away from being a legit contender to get to the Super Bowl. Nathaniel Hackett's the guy you pick. You couldn't wait till Kingsbury was done chasing tail in Thailand first. Like, I'm just saying, or hey, Eric Bieniemy that we just talked about. Right? Sure. Matt Nagy of the Chiefs, right? There's plenty of guys. But look, the guy that got out of this the best was LaFleur. I mean, I get out of New York and having to deal with Zach Wilson, and I get to go be the OC for Sean McVay and work with Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Talk about that's one of those things you get fired to get a better job.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just, the Aaron Rodgers thing, I mean, again, him and Brett Favre, a lot of similarities. I just need the picture of the Twinkie to come out, and it will be signed, sealed, delivered. I mean, just way too many. But do we really think Aaron Rodgers? I mean, I got questions about whether he can carry a team like that, man.
Yeah.
Like when I look like the Jets thing makes sense, but then when I look at, I heard Carson Palmer this week on a show, he was talking about, Aaron Rodgers, the stress of dealing with young receivers and timing and all that. And I was like, well, show up to training camp and it'll be a whole lot smoother. But then the other part, all the Jets wide receivers are young. Like,
right.
Yeah, Wilson's probably going to be the rookie of the year. But I mean, they're young. Breece Hall in the backfield's young. Like, so I just don't know if that's still what Rodgers is looking for. Does that make sense? I don't think Green Bay trades him. Like, why would you? Unless you're just tired of the drama, but you're basically saying you think Jordan Love can compete in that division.
Yeah. And I don't think he can. I think Rodgers demands it, and I think that it becomes this big blowout thing. And Rodgers, in and of himself, it really knows how to position himself in the media. He's almost like a politician in a way, right?
He's did very good at that.
He can really make these things happen. But I agree with you. I don't think that the Jets are the right move. And Chop has even mentioned Tennessee, and maybe that's not the right move either. A lot of young receivers down in Tennessee. I don't know if that's, it's got to be the perfect fit for him. And I don't know if either of those teams are.
Well, he said on McAfee, it's about winning titles. The Jets, okay, I can see you being a contender, but he's still got a lot of youth around him. Tennessee makes no sense. I really think Tennessee is on the cusp of a total rebuild.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean,
really,
I don't know how long Vrabel survives, and I'm a big Vrabel guy, but you're just at the point now without a franchise quarterback. I mean, you got some really nice defensive pieces. I think Burks, the wide receiver, is a really nice piece. Obviously, you got Derrick Henry. But, I mean, they're closer to a rebuild than they are a contender, right? They were in a division where as long as Irsay keeps meddling with the Colts, that's a disaster. But now you got Jacksonville with Peterson. I mean,
right.
they're no shoe-in. Honestly, and Green Bay said they would only trade Rodgers to the AFC, but the only teams that make sense are in the NFC. Back home to San Francisco. Dallas. Yeah, I think Dallas makes a ton of sense. Like, I know Green Bay doesn't want to train within the division, but Dak and a first-round pick for Rodgers makes too much sense for both teams in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Washington, even though I don't want him, but he's better than what we got.
Look, I mean, we would love him in Tennessee. It really would. I think it'd be great. And I think Amy Adams would absolutely welcome that. I think that you're probably right with Tennessee in that we ran Carthon, new GM come in. There's too many pieces that need to be put in place. We have a quarterback that needs to get figured out. We have too many offensive linemen that need to get figured out. There's not many pieces on the defense, but it might not make sense there. I like the San Francisco angle you're taking, but at the same time, we won't see that for the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think all the Aaron Rodgers stuff is kind of fun because he's a fun guy to follow. He's kind of like your local celebrity. I know Jake would probably be shaking in his boots if he came to the Jets and made that division even stronger. I mean, but I don't know. It does seem like a stretch to me, but that's what the Miami. Oh man, that'd be fun. What do you think, Jake? What do you think? Would that be a?
Let's see if Jake still stands by his Tua nonsense.
What do we think about Aaron Rodgers coming to Miami?
Don't want him.
Don't want him.
No, Tua. Actually, you know what? I would be a little open for Aaron Rodgers if he was like, I want to do 1 year with Miami.
Well, he's 2 years max.
Yeah, no, man. I watch Tua play every game, and I know you're all about the injury, but when he plays, man, he's just something else. No, I'll stick with that. I think Aaron, though, it would be fun to see him on the Jets. I would actually like that.
Yeah, we're just living this Brett Favre thing all over again, aren't we?
We're a Twinkie away, gentlemen.
Hey.
Twinkie away.
Give me that pick. Hey, look, okay, we're going to move on here. Let's talk about the game. So we're just going to talk about these next these games that we had today, basically. And we're just going to kind of go over that a little bit. And then we're going to cut this show a little short, as John said. You know, we want to let Chop kind of have his fun. And, you know, we're just going to call it an evening and then move on to the next Wednesday night show, or Thursday, depending on when you get your podcast. What do you think about this 49ers and Eagles game? 31-7. The Eagles win it at home. Look, Purdy goes down in the first drive.
I don't know if down, he bowed out.
Okay, we'll get to it. You know, look, Hurts had a great game. As a game controller, I was really impressed with him being able to manage the game, but it wasn't the high-flying Eagles offense that we're used to seeing, right? I mean, he only had 121 yards passing. And, you know, for a team that is probably the highest, you know, rated passing team in the NFL, if not one of the highest rated passing teams, like they really did it on the ground. And we saw, you know, Miles Sanders had 2 touchdowns. They ran the heck out of the ball and did a great job. But you know, at the end of the day, it really came down to what happened with the 49ers. Purdy goes down, hurts his elbow, and basically, I don't know. It did seem, to your point, John, like it did seem like he was kind of like, oh, coach, I don't think I can go. You know, it was kind of like one of those situations. He did come back late in the second half, and it was too late at that point. I mean, at that point, San Francisco had riddled themselves with penalties. They just kind of self-inflicted wounds the whole time. And, you know, of course, there was that catch early in the first half with Devontae Smith, where it was the first quarter, really, where it should have probably been an incomplete pass. They go on to score. This game wasn't as lopsided as you would think. And it wasn't really a particularly exciting game to watch. Like I kind of just started to fall asleep a little bit in the second half because I knew San Francisco was kind of out of it. And, you know, it wasn't nearly as exciting as that second game we had tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, not going to make excuses for a loss, but, you know, the catch by Devontae Smith, you know, you have a guy in the booth. His sole responsibility is to get on that so that they'll, you know, tell Shanahan, hey, we got a challenge. If nothing else, you got to burn a timeout there. I get it's the first drive, but it's a 3rd and 9. It's too big of a play, 3rd and 5, whatever it was. So that touchdown should have never happened. And if you look at it, this should have been a 7-7 game at half, not 21-7.
Yeah.
All right. And then Johnson, you know, he showed why he's been with 13 franchises in 12 years. Fumbling that snap, which I don't know. I mean, and then he has no effort to get on the ball. He doesn't even try to crawl for it. He just like lays there and like puts a pinky on it. So, I mean, look, if Purdy's in the game, I'm not saying San Francisco wins the game, but their defense self-destructed with those penalties at the end. It should have been 7-7 at half. I believe at worst the Eagles beat them by 10, which would have covered maybe 14, right? With that being said, again, San Francisco, you know, I think this was the end for Brock Purdy. Because it's really easy to be all about Purdy and talk about the poise and talk about all that jazz, right? But I've seen a ton of quarterbacks take that same shot. Okay.
We saw it tonight. Yeah, we saw it later tonight. Yeah.
Saw it tonight. Burrow took the same shot.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Pat Mahomes limping around. You know, his limp got worse in the second half. Why did it get worse? Because he got shot up before the game. Okay. For Brock Purdy to stand over there on the sideline and throw these little 5-10 yard warm-up throws. And then when he came in the game, he threw the slant to Debo. Remember that?
I do, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can throw the ball, dude. What happened is, and nobody's going to call it because we don't want to call out a player being hurt, but I'm sorry, I just got to go off what my eyes saw. The kid got scared and realized I'm not an NFL starting quarterback. and you can say I'm making a horrible statement, I'm out of bounds. That kid was shook in that stadium.
Yeah.
Shook.
Well, real quick. So it's funny because I felt the same way, and I felt bad about feeling that way because I was like, this guy's been great. He's been dynamic. He's really filled these shoes great. And then when the play happened, I'm like, of course, I've seen this happen to so many other quarterbacks as well. I saw it with Burrow, and I saw with others even in the same evening. And, you know, his quote to the press was like, my arm, it felt stretched out. It felt really just like a lot of shocks all over my elbow, down my wrist, front and back, just pain really all over. And
get a shot, wuss.
You know, I couldn't help but feel like I was like, man, dude, like your team needs you. Like Josh Johnson or whatever his last name is, like he's just not going to do it. And it's just that moment, it's that poise that we talked about. It's just, you have to step in. You have to make it happen.
Yeah, and his team, I felt so bad looking at, and even Kyle Shanahan, I felt like they I remember looking at, because I was at my dad's watching that game, and I told Dad it was 8:31 left in the third quarter, 8 minutes, 31 seconds. And just by the play calling and all, I told Dad, I said, they've waved the white flag.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, Purdy's out there, but if he's not going to throw, they should have just went, and here's the other thing. If you can't play, then don't go out there, because at that point they would have been better off just going to the Wildcat with McCaffrey and seeing if they could just create havoc. Right.
Yeah.
So it was very unfortunate, but look, Brock Purdy's career as a starting quarterback in this league is over. I don't want to hear that he's a starter. I get he was 7-0. No, the 49ers were 7-0.
Mm-hmm.
He had to make very little plays. Okay, very little.
It's really a shame because I think the Niners were better than the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, that defense played like, look, they scored a touchdown with Josh Johnson at quarterback. Just think about that. And I get it was all McCaffrey on that drive, but look, as the quarterback of the 49ers, you only got to make 5-6 throws a game. I mean, you got Kittle and Mitchell and McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and Jennings. I mean, they got weapon after weapon after weapon. Heck, they're probably going to draft another weapon in the draft. So, I mean, look, I know you guys think I'm a homer. I am not going to hide from the fact that I support the greatest quarterback that ever laced them up and nobody will ever touch him, and that's Tom Brady. If the San Francisco 49ers don't sign Tom Brady, it'll be the biggest blunder in history.
What are your odds on Tom Brady retires?
Well, I think if it's not San Francisco, I think he does retire.
Okay.
You got one of the greatest offensive minds, at least, you know, in the game right now, for sure, with Shanahan and what he's done for that team with the pieces that he has had around that team and the injuries that have inflicted that team. You know, really all the credit to Shanahan and what he's done to this point, but really
absolutely
he couldn't dig himself out of this hole. And look, when Purdy went down, I thought McCaffrey's going to carry this all the way, because if you guys remember those next couple of drives, it was like McCaffrey was just like, you could tell he was on fire. He was like, I'm going to win this game. And it just wasn't quite enough. McCaffrey rushed for 15, rushes 84 yards, caught 4 catches for 22. But it might have been better if you just put him in a wildcat. But I don't know, Shanahan, his genius just kind of stopped maybe right there, at that point. But to see him and Tom Brady together, I don't know if we'll ever be able to kind of get to see that genius in one spot. We'll see how it goes in the offseason. That's what it's all about, and we'll be around.
I mean, San Francisco has to do some, because they can't waste this roster. They can't waste the roster.
Yeah.
And this just goes to show you need a guy. And I tell you what, the way San Francisco's defense, if San Francisco's defense doesn't implode at the end of the first half, and honestly, I think it just came out of pure frustration because they knew what they were up against with Josh Johnson with that fumble and that turnover, is And Philly got a lot of generous calls. I mean, they didn't let San Francisco's D play aggressive at all.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're, like I was saying, if you're a teammate, you're not sitting next to Purdy on the phone, on the plane. Because I look at it as he let that whole organization down. I mean, every quarterback I've ever seen wants to go back in. I mean, I watched him tell Mahomes last week he couldn't go back in, and him throwing tablets and I see Purdy with his helmet on looking like a scared little 8-year-old kid that just stole cookies off the counter, telling Sheena, you can't go. I mean, I know I was just throwing on the sideline, but the big bad Eagles are over there. I just can't throw any further. I mean, again, big games, you get exposed. And this is why I say I have no opinion about the Super Bowl right now, just so you know. But the line opened Eagles -1.5. It's already -2.5. Okay? I'm just saying be careful, because do we really trust that Jalen Hurts can go out and win a game? I mean, have we seen it? I mean, I've seen him kind of like Purdy, been the beneficiary of a lot of good people around him. Now, granted, he's got legs, but like Burrow, Mahomes, we've seen them do it when they needed it. I mean, Mahomes was down as 3 of his top 4 targets tonight. I mean, they were dropping like flies. I don't know what happened to Juju and all those guys. But, I mean, are we really convinced? I know that we're all enamored with the weapons and the defense of the Eagles, but if you say Hurts has to go out there and throw for 300 yards, that roughing the kicker on the Niners was a horrible call.
That was a horrible call.
That was a horrible call. Do you have faith that Jalen Hurts can do that? I mean, I've just never seen him do it. He couldn't do it at Alabama. They had to put Tua in, remember?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I just haven't seen him in a big game with his arm have to go out and be the guy.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he's going to have to be if it comes down to it. So let's dive right in to the Bengals and the Chiefs game up there in Arrowhead. This was
up
the
there
game.
In where, Arrowhead? I thought it was Burrowhead.
Oh, Burrowhead. No, it's no longer apparently because you're welcome, Chop. So. And this was the game that we all wanted to see tonight. And today, really, we thought both games were going to be like this. At least we got 1 out of 2. Bengals, Chiefs. Bengals, came out a little slow. And, of course, Joey B just starts getting hit in the pocket. And everyone's like, okay, here we go again. Groundhog Day. This dude's just getting sacked. And he did get sacked a lot in the evening. But, and he threw 2 picks. We can talk about that as well. Honestly, though, after the first half, I mean, they came back, they kicked the field goal to come within 3 in the first half, to end the first half. And then when they came back in the second half, it was the game that we all expected. It was just sort of a back and forth route. At the end of the day, with 2020 going down the field, both teams had a shot. Joey B had his shot and just couldn't put it together. And then Bengals, are playing defense against the Chiefs on the way back down, and Joseph Asai, a big unsportsmanlike conduct out of bounds on Patrick Mahomes that puts him in field goal range and well within a kicking field goal range at that point to close out the game. And it was a good game. There was a lot of fireworks, and I think Joe Burrow, there were moments where I was frustrated with him. There were also moments where I thought, hey, look, he's got what it takes. He has this sort of poise, and he has the ability to understand the games so that he knows when to throw it away and sort of when to run. He's not like Patrick Mahomes. They're so different in how they are in the way they play the game. Joe is, and I don't know if you ever said this, but tonight he reminded me of Dan Marino, right? He's got the arm. And even the way he runs and when he has to run and when he decides to run is very like Marino. It's not ever a run first, and I'm not saying that about Mahomes. Mahomes is not a run first quarterback. I'm not saying that. But in the way that they move throughout the pocket, Joey B is just like, I'll take the sack, and Mahomes is like, I'll move. And neither of them are trying to move up the field. It's just the way that they operate. And then when they decide to move, it's just a different way that they move their body. It was really fun to watch those two go at it again. And, Kansas City gets the win, and they finally get that monkey off their back when it comes to, Cincinnati kind of got their number. So, it's a great game.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable game. Pat Mahomes, 29-43, and I'm glad we're talking about this without Chop here, because I'm sure Wednesday I'm going to have to put my earplugs in because he'll be slobbing Mahomes the whole episode.
He really didn't do anything, super notable.
29-43, 326, 2 tubs. He did what he had to.
He did what he had to do, but it wasn't like he didn't do anything extraordinary like he usually does. Obviously he's hurt, and it was only 2 or 3 times in the game where you really saw him and the ankle affect him. He did go out and lead his team to a victory, but I'm not saying he went out there and won the game. There were so many other variables and pieces in place that made that happen. The defense, Chris Jones, the way that he played, they just collapse the pocket, and there were so many other variables, and Mahomes is great. We all know that, but I don't think it was on his shoulders tonight for by any means.
Yeah, the thing I have a problem with is the leading rusher in this football game was Joe Burrow.
Yeah, isn't that
4
crazy?
carries for 30 yards. That was the leading rusher on both teams, not just the Bengals, both teams.
Yep.
Oh, they got Purdy on camera now. That'll be the last big game press conference you're at, Doogie Howser. Jesus. What a wuss. So, look, the Chiefs are going to have to run the football. I keep saying this, but you cannot go. The Chiefs are not in a position to go up and down the field with, he even looks scared at the podium right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's that's why he's the last pick in the draft.
Is it no longer Purdy good Purdy?
No,
or is he now Skirty Purdy?
He's only lost one game.
Skirty.
So
nah.
Oh, okay. Hang on now.
Nah.
We got a Purdy fan in the house?
Let's say
well, there's your next backup in Miami.
You can't blame the guy, right? He's third string quarterback.
Yeah, third string, yeah.
Well, look, if you can't blame him, you can't give him all the love for making it sound like he's the second coming of Johnny Unitas.
I never said that, He's your third string.
I'm not saying you, I'm just saying everyone else.
Has been. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
He's done well. He's done well for a third string quarterback.
Look, it all come down to this: 3 turnovers for the Niners, 11 penalties, 81 yards. But back to the Chiefs. The Chiefs' offense is not in the position that they've been in. Again, we talked about Tyreek Hill the other night, right? And how I thought it would hurt them this game in the Super Bowl. I'm not sure Jalen Hurts, with his arm, can go win you a game. But the way Philly can run the ball, and they still have the weapons of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside, you don't want to get in a shootout with them either. And we don't know what the health status of all Kansas City's receivers are. So, I'm going to be very interested to see, and he just hasn't proven it, how's Andy Reid going to call the game? Because this is the Andy Reid Bowl, right? And he would love nothing more than solidify his legacy beating the Eagles. But I'm just concerned that arrogance is going to get in the way, and they're going to try to drop Mahomes back there 50 times. And if they do that, I think they're going to have a hard time winning the game, especially if they have 3 and outs and that defense is on the field a long time and you can't get Jones and them to pin their ears back. Because the Eagles running the ball with Gainwell and Miles Sanders and Hurts, that's just a recipe for disaster for them, in my opinion, early on. Like I said, I've did no work, haven't, just with the naked, armchair Monday morning quarterback. That's just what I see. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
who's more willing to run the ball, right?
The Eagles.
That's the question. What we saw today is that the Eagles, although they have a dynamic and prolific passing offense, they are willing to run the ball if they have to. And give all the credit to Sirianni, and for swallowing his pride and being able to do that, and even Hurts. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and win you the game with his arm or even his feet, but who's going to be the one who runs the ball and sticks with the game plan? I mean, look, we would all love to see this shootout Super Bowl, but in the end, what's going to win the game? I think it's going to be who's more willing to do that. Now, what we saw today, the Eagles are more willing to do that, but come 2 weeks from now, game plans could change 100%. So we don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's just my early thing is the Chiefs, they're going to have to work on their time of possession, man. And it just can't be thrown, because the one thing about the Eagles is they got some dudes, man. Graham and Cox, they've been around a long time. Sue, they just got dudes. They got dudes. So I just want to see what's going to be. The Chiefs just have refused to run the ball, and even when they've tried to run it, they haven't ran it well, which is odd, because as much as they spread people out and throw the ball, you would just assume that they should have some open lanes to be able to run the football, at least to some degree.
Well, look, they got a rookie, Pacheco, as their starting running back. I mean, he did fine tonight, and, picked up 26 yards, I guess, and he did all right. But, when you don't have that solid backfield presence, Patrick Mahomes was right behind Pacheco in rushing. So, he's got a bum ankle. I mean, I say bum, we don't know exactly what's going on with Mahomes' ankle at this point. But
2 weeks will do him good, though.
Yeah, sure.
He'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. But is he going to be able to move on about and run up down the field? I saw Joe Burrow ran the ball better tonight and did very strategic quarterback runs tonight, better than Patrick Mahomes did. Now, Patrick moves in and out about the pocket a lot better, is what I saw.
Yeah, and another guy, they're going to have to do something about blocking Hassan Reddick, too, of the Eagles. Because that guy was... that guy was a monster tonight.
He had a game.
Good God.
Yeah.
I mean, and shout out again, I know I said the Niners defense imploded there at the end of the first half, and you could tell it was out of pure frustration. But Joey Bosa, just watching him and how hard he was playing. And again, there was some questionable calls there, as there is in any game. But I just felt like your heart kind of goes out to San Francisco a little bit, right? To be in that position where should have been 7-7 at the half, don't get the challenge, stupid turnovers, or you're on your 37th quarterback of the game. It'll be, but look, they got to sew up quarterback, AJ. Because again, these rosters don't last for long. So you're going to have to get a guy. You need a dude. And to me, it's a no-brainer. I know everybody gets tired of me saying it, but what else are you going to do? Where else are you going to go? You going to go Derek Carr? You going to go Ryan Tannehill? You going to go Baker Mayfield? Where are you going to go? You going to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo? Again, you know me, I'm a big Garoppolo fan, but he's like Tua. He can't stay healthy either. Actually, there you go. Garoppolo needs to go to Miami, because between him and Tua, you can run like the 2 quarterback system they used to run at Florida for the Gators.
I don't think Jake will like that.
Between the 2 of them, it'd be like the bionic quarterback. You take one's arm, the other one's toenail, the other one's ear. Put them together, you got a Pro Bowler.
I like Mayfield to San Francisco. Oh
my God, do you really think he can win a Super Bowl? I'm glad you didn't make that comment with Choplin here. That would waste another 25 minutes. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
We got 25 minutes to spare.
I just can't. I'm exhausted. It's been a long week for me to rally the troops to be 5 games over 500 this week. 253 over since April 1st. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have to sew up quarterback. And when I look around,
they have no
again,
pick either.
They have no pick. Great point, Jake. So now again, Garoppolo, I mean, surely you can't go back with Trey Lance. He's not even going to be ready, you don't think. Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill. I mean, who else is out there? Matt Ryan. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's rough.
I mean, it's now, here's an interesting one.
Okay, here we go.
Here's an interesting one because they've offered, but he hasn't signed the extension, right? Because word is the Giants are going to lowball Daniel Jones because they don't think he can get out on the open market. If you're Daniel Jones, do you test the market? I mean, is that a good fit for San Francisco?
Oh, poor Daniel Jones. I don't think he's a good fit for the Giants.
Or if you're San Francisco, do you reach out to Minnesota and trade for Kirk Cousins?
Why wouldn't Rodgers go to San Francisco?
Well, because the Packers already said they're open to trading him, but not to an NFC team.
Yeah.
I mean, reunite Cousins with the guy that drafted him.
You know, I don't know. I mean, the market is really thin right now for good quarterbacks and offensive linemen. You ask anybody in the league right now, they'll tell you, like, it is really hard to find offensive linemen and quarterbacks on the open market. It's all about the draft. And so that's what we have to see. What's going to happen during the draft? And to your point, Jake, they don't have any draft picks. So
no,
what do you do?
The Rams, I mean, they won't be picking until, God, my youngest graduates high school, it feels like.
I like Garoppolo to stay at San Francisco. If he can stay healthy, that's a big if. If ifs were fifths, I know, as the saying goes. He's a good quarterback. I think he's great.
All right.
Trey Lance is that's just a whole nother thing.
I mean, if you're San Francisco, do you reach out to Baltimore?
Okay.
Trey Lance and 2 first-round picks. And a receiver.
He wants to leave.
Throw Ayuk in there.
Lamar?
He
wants out of there.
They're dancing around.
Lamar wants out of Baltimore.
I think he wants out. I mean, if you're San Francisco, Trey Lance and Ayuk, because the what in the world?
But you can invest in them at T. Rowe Price. Our strategic investment.
What the hell is going on out there?
Are you in stock trading during the show?
I don't know. I hit a button. It's like that date I was on one time. I brought her back to the house and she goes, "What's that humming?" I said, "I don't know. I hit a button." Why are you complaining? There you go. Sorry. Way off topic.
That's the drop for sure.
But
all right.
Well, I don't know what we were talking about now. I thought back to that moment, actually. God, that was a great night.
What about
so many more great nights?
What about Kyler?
To who? San Francisco? Kyle Shanahan would kill him.
I'm looking at the draft order right now, and I'm trying to figure out if there's anything here that would happen there.
Look, I think if you're San Francisco, right, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan tonight on the flight home are up front. Oh my God, why? I don't even know what's going on or why it's happening. I'm not even hitting anything. And then she said, "Because you're not in there." I was like, "Oh, that explains it." Well, that sucks. I'm finished now. So anyway, what were we even talking about?
I think tonight on the
plane, they're trading Merrill Lynch. No, they gotta be having a serious conversation. Okay, look, are we going to go out and are we going to offer Brady, or are we going to get Baltimore on the phone and say, what will it take to get Lamar? Or are we going to ride with Jimmy G again and Purdy and kind of go back and forth between those two, knowing both of them are very serviceable, but we don't know if either one can go win the game. Right? So, and again, when you go back around to it, I mean, unless you went Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins, pulled off a trade for them, I mean, those are your four options. I feel like you trade for Carr, you trade for Cousins, you sign Brady, or you try to pull off some ridiculous trade to get Lamar. Those are the only options San Francisco's got, or they're going to waste this group. I mean, I get it. Kyle Shanahan is great enough. Anybody can plug and play there. But at the end of the day, like, things matter. We see this all the time in sports. Everybody can have great regular seasons. But look, once you get to an NFC or AFC Championship game, and if you somehow can even creep out of that and get to a Super Bowl, you need dudes that can make plays, man. Like, very rarely do you get a guy that, like a Nick Foles or, you know, back in the day, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl just being a game manager.
Oof.
You know, very rarely can you win a Super Bowl with a guy, like, unless they get hot at the right time. Nick Foles got hot. Eli Manning got hot. Joe Flacco got hot. Unless you're trying to bank on, I hope my quarterback just gets hot and plays the best month of his life, January through February, you need a dude, because you just do. You can't get away with that anymore, just having a serviceable quarterback. You can get in the playoffs every year, and you can maybe win a game or two, but you can't win a championship game or a Super Bowl with a game manager. You just can't.
Well, we're about to manage this thing to the finish line here. That's so true. I mean, honestly, I mean, and teams are dealing with it all across the country, and certainly here in Tennessee we are as well. So,
I mean, if you're San Francisco, what do you do, AJ?
I don't even know. I mean, I think Garoppolo is your best bet at this point. I don't think any of the quarterbacks on the open market.
Brady.
You think Garoppolo's a better option than Brady? I'm with Jake. I say Brady.
Well, I don't. I mean, I do think Brady's a better option. I just don't know what's going on with Brady. Like, is that even a thing that he's willing to do? If I knew that it was, and you're asking me now I know that Brady is willing to go, and that's a thing that's an option. And Garoppolo, then that's a different answer. So I don't even know if Brady is a possibility. If I did, then
okay,
let's
yes.
say
yes.
My answer is yes, Brady over Garoppolo.
If you're John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, do you call him on the flight home tonight?
I think they need to be calling everybody they possibly can think of calling at this point. Yes.
Because Dallas didn't call anybody about trying to get a quarterback. They're just going to run it back with Dak, which means McCarthy will get fired and they won't re-sign Dak.
Yeah, they're going to run it back with Dak. They're going to run it back with McCarthy, and Jerry's going to, do what Jerry does. I mean, apparently Jerry told McCarthy that he's going to coach at Dallas as long as, Landry coached at Dallas. And I just don't see how that's possible if you don't win next year.
That's like me telling a chick all night and 10 seconds later I'm snoring.
Yeah, I don't
like
see
I
how
told you, girl,
possible.
I'm snoring all night.
So, I don't know.
What?
No, I don't know. I think it's really tough to win without a good quarterback.
I just want to say this one more time. I know where Jake's going to go, but listen, I just can't get this out of my mind. So Brady's traveling private schools in Miami this week. And I know what all the reports say, but do y'all honestly believe that the general manager and the owner feel like he doesn't give them the best chance to get to the chip next year? And y'all can tell me, John, you're just too in love with him, and that's fine. But I mean, I'm just saying, if you guys were the owner and the general manager, forget everybody talks about the future in sports, and I really don't understand what that means. It's like when Jordan left the Bulls the last time because, Krause and them wanted to rebuild around Jordan. And after Jordan won the 6th ring and wanted to run it back again, he said, people talk about rebuilding. The Cubs have been rebuilding for 86 years. Like, rebuilding or building
it's a
for
totally
the future.
different sport. Totally different sport.
Same thing applies. It's easier to build a winner in baseball than it is the NFL.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, look at the best players in baseball. They're not on winning teams.
Well,
no. They're not on worlds. They're on World Series winning teams.
But they get to the playoffs, the A's.
So what? That's what we're talking about. The chip.
Okay, so again, we're back to the chip, right? The future to me doesn't exist. The only way the future exists is if you have a quarterback or a perennial scorer in the NBA. And baseball is hard because it takes so many different pieces, right? Mm-hmm. But you can go from worst to first in baseball quicker than anywhere is what I'm saying. Because you can go out and, you have an unlimited cap.
It's less about one player in that sport, though.
True, but you can go accumulate talent more because there's no cap. It's just a matter of do you want to spend the money? Yeah,
but look at the Yankees. They got unlimited. Everyone.
Well, they got a buffoon as a manager. Aaron Boone blows. You could manage that team better drunk.
But still, so there's so many other variables, as you're saying.
There's a lot.
Go on.
I guess what I'm saying is, let's bring it back to the Dolphins. We got way off kilter. You have that team, and salary cap is going to hit them because you got a lot of young guys on D that haven't gotten paid yet. And you added some high-end guys, Armstead at tackle, right? You brought Raheem Mostert in. You got Tyreek. Mike Gesicki's deal is going to be up. Waddle's deal is going to be up soon. So your window, in the NFL, and I've actually thought about this the past couple of days, would I rather have a great team like the Niners and Eagles do and just try to draft a quarterback every couple of years and plug and play it? Or do I want the franchise quarterback with very little around him once I have to pay him? Like it's kind of a crazy question to ask. I'm just of the belief if you don't have a Burrow, a Pat Mahomes, a Trevor Lawrence, and even though I'm reluctant, I'll go ahead and say a Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. Outside of that, I don't think anything should be off the table. Because there's nobody even close to those guys.
How long is Brady going to play, though?
Maybe 2 years, but that's all the window you got with that team anyway.
Well, they signed Hill to 5 years. They just signed Fangio to 5 years.
Yes, but you're not going to be able to keep Waddle, Mostert, Gesicki, and Wilkins on the defensive line and Phillips. You're going to be able to keep maybe 2 of those. So that's your next. Those 5 guys are 8 or of your top 8 or 9 players.
I think it all comes down to the fan base. I've been watching Tom Brady beat the shit out of the Dolphins for the last 15 years.
You don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't play it.
Oh, they'll welcome him. They'll welcome him with open arms.
I just think it. Look, Tom Brady should retire unless it's the perfect situation for him to get a chip.
Yeah.
And I believe San Francisco.
He'd get one if he went to San Francisco or Miami.
I agree. I think at worst, this is the low level of my expectations. If the 49ers sign him, the 49ers are in the Super Bowl. No question. None. I don't want to hear about Philly and the rest of the NFC blows. If he goes to Miami, at worst, he's in the AFC Championship game playing Burrow or Mahomes. Can we honestly say that Miami is in that situation next year? No. So I guess what I'm saying is if I'm the owner and the GM, I'm having a realistic conversation about, we might have this over here, but I know what we can have here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And look at the Eagles. They did a great job on the draft and all that. but they got Hurts on this rookie deal. They got a 3-year window. After that, the Eagles and they got like 2 more picks in the top 10 somehow this year. Like in 3 years, the Eagles aren't going to be able to pay all these dudes. Like they already got a ton of dudes they're paying already, but like when the cap hits, they're going to lose like 5-6 key players, like Pro Bowlers. You can't replace that. I mean, you can, but it takes years, and then you lose other like kind of like Seattle. When they won it, they got to the 2 Super Bowls. They should have won 2 had they ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch, but I had the Patriots in that bet, so thank God they did throw it. But look, if Russell Wilson's not on that rookie deal, Seattle can't build the team they had. Agreed?
Yeah. No, I mean,
yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Look, I mean, in the NFL, it's all about windows, right?
Absolutely.
It's all about windows. Like you either hit it on your window or you miss it. A lot of teams are missing it. A lot of teams are getting close. And I agree with you. It's different than MLB. Like in some situations, windows are much wider, right? Like because to your point, like anything can happen year to year.
How close is the Chiefs window to closing?
Oh, man. Well, I'll go with, I like the Burrow comment of as long as I'm here, the window's always going to be open. And I think the same way as long as Reed and Mahomes are together.
Yeah.
However, they already are skinny. Like, let's be honest. Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster were let-goes of other teams. So that's why they drafted Sky Moore, who hasn't panned out, right? They traded for Tony, which he hadn't did anything with anybody. Like, so you're already seeing the Chiefs decline. Like, in this next draft, the Chiefs have got to go draft a tight end and a receiver because Kelsey, he's going to start to hit the downside. So I think Kansas City is already hitting the downside, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now their secondary is really young. Their linebacking crew is really young. I like what they're doing on defense, but Frank Clark's older. Chris Jones getting older, but the back seven's good. But the Chiefs, they're already struggling at the skill positions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they already lost Tyreek, right? Kelsey's starting to get older, right? I mean, so Kansas City needs to draft more skill guys. I think they're already, it's not going to be a shoe-in like it was, when they beat the Niners in the Super Bowl and then when they got to Tampa. I think Philly has more talent than the Chiefs. Can we agree on that? I mean, Chiefs got Mahomes, but Philly's a way more talented team. Doesn't mean they're going to win. I just think they're way more talented. So the Chiefs window, it's like Burrow with the Bengals. They're always going to be in the conversation, but man, it's going to be really hard for them to win. It's not going to be as easy as it was when they got to the first two.
Yeah, with Mahomes and Reed, I see a very similar situation with Roethlisberger. We'll call it Coward, and we'll call it Tomlin, right? Like, even though they're two separate coaches, as long as those two are in place, like I can see a big high and then a rebuild and then maybe a comeback, depending on what happens this year and the next couple of years. As long as those two are together, I can see a sort of, a big rebuild and then come back for, prominence.
And that's a great comp. And I guess that answers your question, Jake, is, Roethlisberger got one his second year in the league, really his first year as a starter with Cowher.
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl 40. Tomlin comes in, they get back to it in Super Bowl 43. And if not for a miraculous throw and catch, the Cardinals beat them. They get back 2 years later, Super Bowl 45, and lose in the fourth quarter to Rodgers. And then they never sniff another one. They never got back to it. So, again, they were competitive in the mix every year, but you need dudes to get to the big game. And then to get to the big game, we've all saw it, guys. I mean, Philly special, throwing the ball at the 1 yard line with Russell picked off. I mean, just crazy things happen in Super Bowls. So it's really, really hard. And so unless these quarterbacks take friendly deals, man, you're in a you're just in a bad way. And I think, really not to bring more to the table, but I think that's the problem with Baltimore right now is they realize if we give Lamar $250 million, we're screwed. Yeah, he's great. We don't have a better answer, but if we haven't gotten there with him now, we're never going to get there because we can't put nothing around him if we sign him.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit longer than we expected. Talked about those games, and then we went a little diatribe there. But John,
my bad.
No, not at all. We were probing you for those questions. And one last question I have is, what's in your betting quadrant tonight? I want to know.
Well, I want to make an announcement. I have checked through all my house, and I have no boxes of classified documents.
Oh.
So I'm one of the few people in America. Again,
case closed.
Just another reason to show I'm a winner. But no, 253 games over 500, folks. It's been an amazing year since April 1st. I'm so blessed, so grateful, thankful for the ability that in the doors God's given me to be able to do that. I'm thankful for Port Shop and AJ and Jake, all you guys that allow me to do what I do, and y'all do all the other hard lifting stuff. Because again, a lot people will never ever understand. I'm not trying to sound like a wussy like Purdy, but nobody will ever understand what it takes to do that, right? The highs and the lows, and to try to stay the same and not get frustrated, and to, when people are saying you letters they want to jump off a cliff, or text messages for you to stay calm and not press. And it's just really hard. So it's been amazing. I've never been 200 games over. To be 253 is humbling in a lot of ways, but it's also, I've thought about this today. I thought about last night, actually, if I could have a really good day today and stay over 250 and add to it, what's the possibilities, right? Because I was always like, man, if I could ever hit 200, that would just be amazing. And now here I said it, 253, and we still got the whole month of February, whole month of March. We still got 2 months, right? But I think it's pushed me, and it's driving me even more to, 13 years in a row I've been 150, but now can I start the streak of 200 over every year? I know a lot of people say they are, but you guys have been with me long enough. I put the record up there. So it's really just, if you're serious and you have a passion about sports gambling, which most people do, but they don't win at it. And again, everybody all week long I heard was Bengals, 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 Bengals. Okay. And I had people text me today about it. And I said, hey, look, if I lose the bet, the one thing I try to do is look at myself and say, can I live with myself and go to bed at night knowing that I'd bet that game 100 times over, right? And that's the way I felt about the Chiefs, and it worked out. And we were in the minority, and that just goes to show that I know what I'm doing. The handicapping is spot on. There's no mistake. It takes a lot of hard work, but you need a guy like me, right? If I wanted to build a house, I'd go get a builder. If I wanted somebody to make me a marketing video, I'd go to Jake at Serious Marketing. You know what I mean? If I wanted somebody to landscape my house, I'd go get a professional landscaper. If I wanted somebody to sing at my wedding, I'd go get Tim McGraw, right? Like, I would go get a professional that's what they do, right? That's what they do. That's their job, right? If your HVAC system breaks in your house, do you just go buy all the parts and take it out and reinstall it? No, you swallow your pride and you pay the 10 to 20 grand because you need a professional to do it. Same thing here. Hop on board, reach out. I'm willing to have a conversation. I don't care what your bankroll. I don't care if you're betting $10 a game and you think, there's no point. I'll help you. I'll take you from a $10 better. It might take us a year, but I'll have you to 200. In 5 years from now, you'll be betting 1,000 a game, right? You can't climb Everest in one swoop. You got to take a little bit at a time. So I don't care if you're a $10 better or $1,000 better. I can make it work for everybody. So please, bccsports.com. What's that Twitter stuff and all that? AJ, can you do that thing again? You know?
Yeah, you can check us out on BCCS Sports at Twitter, and you can check us out on @BustinChops, Calling Shots on IG and Facebook. That's Instagram, if you didn't know. I
didn't know. Hey, thanks for clearing that.
All right, thanks. Yeah, and check out the YouTube @BustinChops, Calling Shots. Hey, and if you're listening, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you should check us out on the podcast, which, Bustin' Chops, Calling Shots, you can find on any of your podcast providers. But as you said, John, bccsports.com is really where you can find it all.
Yeah, hey, follow along. Let's get you a plan before April 1st. And I encourage everybody, the next 2 months, let's see what we can do. But man, if you're with me and play every play April 1st through March 31st, you'll never regret. I'll be the best thing that ever happened to you. Promise. I'll be like a Brett Favre Twinkie pick.
Yeah.
I'll make you smile.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to promise that, but you've been pretty good to me and to Jake as far as adding some value to our lives, and glad to call you friend, and you and Chop both, really, honestly, and
brother from another mother.
Brother from another mother. It's good to be on with you, John, and really appreciate Jake for hopping on tonight. Producer Jake in the house, and hope Chop, I hope you're okay. I hope you're not getting...
Oh, yeah, I got to call that bail bondsman.
Yeah.
Crap.
I hope you're not getting hurt in some way. But I hope you're having fun and enjoying your time as the winner tonight. Chop was texting us tonight, and, just couldn't help be happy for him. So, even though he's been there the last, 4 out of 5 years, gosh, darn it.
Enough already.
Yeah.
Can we get the Redskins there, for God's sakes? Geez.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we got for you guys tonight. I'm Bustin' Chops, Calling Shots. Really appreciate you all tuning in. As always, we really love you guys. Thank you for checking it out. As John said, bccsports.com. Head there. You can find everything you need to if you want to check us out. All right.
Love you, my winners.
See you later.